order. As you can see, as we did at our last meeting, I'm here, Mayor Al Adam, and I'm here with our city manager, Drew Powers, and our city attorney, Tracy Noonan, and my 4 fellow council members are teleconferencing in so we can continue to practice distancing. So if we may start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ladies and gentlemen, hand over your heart, please begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. And under the circumstances, that felt good to say that. All right. Ms. Rodriguez, may we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Engler?
Present.
Councilmember Jones?
Here.
Councilmember McCoy?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Bill De La Pena?
Present.
Mayor Adam?
And I'm here. Thank you for being here, everyone. Well, we're going to go right to Mr. Powers because he has been assiduous in his connecting with the county and the Public Health Agency and Dr. Levin, so he's going to give us the latest on what we're looking at. Mr. Powers.
Thank you, Mayor Adam, and good evening, everyone at home. These are tough times, and I hope everyone is doing as well as can be expected given these extraordinary circumstances. Wanted to give you a quick look at where we stand as of tonight with the latest numbers. We have a total of 149 cases now across the county, and 44 of those cases are here in the Conejo Valley, in local and in city and unincorporated areas immediately adjacent to the city. Tragically, we now have 5 fatalities, and we've conducted nearly 3,000 tests on a countywide basis for COVID-19. 27 individuals have fully recovered, and 117 are now under active quarantine. And of those numbers, 30 have been hospitalized at some point in time. We are in daily conversation with the county, myself, all of my fellow city managers, and the county leadership and the county public health department. In addition, our various colleagues in various operational areas, from city attorneys to finance professionals to public works professionals and HR professionals, are all working in concert on a countywide basis. Just a few items that are city related. What are we doing? We are maintaining services, albeit in a modified fashion. If you're rebuilding from your home from the fire or working on a new business, we're trying to keep things moving as best we can from a permitting and inspections standpoint. We're dealing with all of that in a modified fashion, but we are keeping the wheels of government moving. Water and wastewater, we're, as you might imagine, managing different types of flows now with everyone home throughout the day. And our commitment remains firm, delivering safe drinking water and effectively treating our wastewater, and our teams are continuing to work tirelessly on those efforts. Our police and fire professionals are out on the front lines here, keeping our community safe and obviously working and responding in different manners given the different nature of society right now. We have public works projects moving forward. You'll hear about a number of those this evening. Our library continues to be a great community resource despite the brick and mortar locations not being open to the public. We have a great virtual library. If you haven't had an opportunity to check it out yet, there's a lot of amazing things to dive into there. And our EOC is activated, and we're activated in a virtual capacity in that we're gathering in a virtual manner, but we're activated to try to support things on a regional basis, and whether that be meal delivery to seniors in need or issues that emerge in other parts of the county. The structure of our Emergency Operations Center is critical, and our Emergency Operations Center is active, and that allows us to also respond nimbly to issues that come up along the way. We've had, as many in the community know, we've had to close our trails, and this was not a decision that we reached in haste. It was driven in large part by closures in LA City and county, resulting in significant traffic influx into our community. And it's really tough to control crowds at trailheads, especially on single-track trails. At this time, CRPD intends to keep our parks open. And I had consultation with our general manager, Jim Friedel, just within the last hour. But I need to be really honest with folks. That could change. Many other cities are closing parks and beaches due to group gatherings and basketball games that are continuing to be played and picnics amongst friends. And all of this with folks not adhering to the guidance of staying apart. And so we want open spaces to breathe and to recreate. As the father of a 2-year-old daughter, I need those spaces right now more than I ever have. But as a community, we all have to use them responsibly and stay apart from those that are not part of our immediate household. Please, this is really important. If we can't use these responsibly and further action has to be taken, it becomes a real difficulty for all. If we can work together, we can achieve that. On a business standpoint, we continue to work very closely with the Conejo Valley Chamber of Commerce. They've given me a couple quick update items. Their top priority as a chamber has been educating the business community on new funding available through the Federal CARES Act. There's a payroll protection program that allows small businesses and 501c3s, nonprofits with under 500 employees to borrow unsecured loans 2.5 times their monthly payroll. The loan will be forgiven if used for eligible expenses, including payroll, rent, utilities, mortgage interest, while keeping their employees on payroll and not reducing their salaries by more than 25%. The Chamber has, by the way, more details on this up on their websites. Application form can be submitted starting April 3rd through existing SBA lenders, and other lenders will be available to make these loans as they are approved and enrolled in the program. The Chamber is actively advocating on the issue of business interruption insurance. Many, if not all, insurance carriers are not honoring claims for business interruption based on COVID-19 because there's a virus exemption. So they're working on that issue. The Great American Takeout 2 is actually happening tonight. And so if you join the community in showing support for local restaurants that are responsibly doing delivery and pickup, there's a list of nearly 300 restaurants in Thousand Oaks at the ConejoChamber.org/restaurants. And the Chamber want to take a moment to thank the Thousand Oaks City Council for approving a temporary eviction moratorium for residential and commercial tenants. This will help and provide much-needed flexibility for our small businesses during these very uncertain times. We also remain in very close contact with leadership at Los Robles Hospital, and I am in conversation with the CEO on almost a daily basis and continuing to offer our support. The hospital is prepared for what they see as the upcoming surge, and they have taken a number of steps to be prepared for that, and they're working in close concert with the County Office of Emergency Services and County Public Health and the other hospitals in the county on our regional efforts. What should you be doing? First of all, stay up to date As I mentioned before, vcemergency.com and toaks.org/COVID-19 are great resources of information. vcemergency.com is the county portal. It is updated every day with the latest information and numbers. The numbers usually come out late afternoon, early evening for each day. And we have a number of localized resources at toaks.org/COVID-19. We're working to keep you updated on numerous fronts. It's a tough order with this issue and the media inundation around the topic, but we've found some creative ways to do that through various social media channels. If you don't follow us, please follow us. Mayor Adam has done some regular videos with staff support and getting those edited and out to keep the community informed. At the end of the day, though, the message is really simple. Please stay home unless it's for an essential purpose. We know it's going to be a long month ahead. It's going to be a long month for all of us. And it's also a crucial, pivotal month as we try to gain the upper hand as a county, state, and nation on this pandemic. All the public health professionals that are on our calls just continue to stress that point, that there's early evidence that these measures are working, but we have to stay with them or else they won't serve the purpose. And we need our residents to stay the course, remain positive, and plan for some brighter days ahead. Finally, just within the last 30 minutes or so, the county public health director has issued a new order with some additional restrictions and clarifications. And I'd like to turn to City Attorney Tracy Noonan for just a really quick overview of what's included in that order.
Sure, thank you. This order does become effective midnight tonight, and the focus of this order is really to clarify what are essential businesses that can remain open, and clarify under what circumstances those essential businesses may remain open. The order contains the following. First of all, it establishes new procedures for takeout restaurants and facilities, such as requiring that all food be in containers, requiring that food be consumed off premises, and requiring 6-foot spacing must be maintained by all customers in addition to staff. The order also strongly advises all food and beverage facilities to comply with the guidance issued by the county. It also defines essential businesses. In other words, the essential businesses must limit their activities just to those essential goods and services. For example, grocery stores and convenience stores, they can sell essential items such as food, pet supplies, household cleaning products, but they are not allowed to sell non-essential items such as clothing, jewelry, or furniture. It also defines essential business even further as a business whose primary business is the sale of food, beverages, pet supplies, or household products. Gives an example of perhaps a vape store that sells just a minimal amount of snacks and water, and it determines that it does not qualify as an essential business. The order states very clearly that if the sale of essential items constitute less than 33% of the business's gross sales, that business is not deemed to be an essential business and cannot operate. It allows auto dealerships to continue to operate, but only their repair shops and auto parts supplies. It orders the closure of all swimming pools and hot tubs in the county, except for those in a single-family backyard. All other ones must be closed. It orders the closure of all campgrounds and RV parks, prohibits door-to-door solicitation. And finally, the order emphasizes that businesses that don't comply with this order and prior orders can be subject to not only civil or criminal enforcement, but also that operation of the business that violates the order may be charged with unfair competition and be subject to civil penalties.
All right, very good. I want to thank Mr. Powers and Ms. Noonan and our staff for your diligence in keeping up with this situation round the clock to keep our citizens informed and to keep them safe. And as you have heard, this is an ever-changing situation. It wasn't long ago that we had 10 cases in the county. Now we have 149. And April is going to be a surge. As Mr. Powers said, we're going to see a lot more cases. I'm sorry to say, but that's the way it looks it's going to turn out. So it's just vitally important that we comply with the guidelines. It'll save lives and keep the duration of this thing under control, hopefully. All right, so let us go on to a little bit of business here. Do we have any public comments, by the way, Ms. Rodriguez?
We do not, Mayor.
All right, no public comments this evening. So I'm going to go to the consent calendar and ask my fellow council members if there's anything they'd like pulled.
Yes, I have something.
All right, Mr. Jones, what would that be?
I'd like to look a little bit further at items K and item R, please.
All right, K and R, we'll pull that. And can I get a motion on the remainder of the consent calendar?
I move the remainder of the consent calendar. Claudia Bill de la Pena.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Voice vote on that?
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember McCoy?
Yes.
Councilmember Engler?
Yep.
Mayor Pro Tem Bill de la Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Adam?
Yes. All right, Councilmember Jones, go
Yeah,
ahead.
On item K, which is, as I understand it, a follow-up to the action we took relative to not simply going forward and renewing the solid waste contracts for the two haulers that we have. This is opening it up again, and I understand the recommendation is that we approve a consultant to come up with a final recommendation. And I wonder if this could be explained a little further, just how that is going to work and what, if any, is the involvement of the council and the or the trash haulers in particular, up to the point of this coming back for action on the part of the board.
Dr. Cox is here to answer that question. Councilmember Jones?
The item is to approve a consultant to manage the RFP process. This would include developing the RFP package, which would be brought back to council before release. We're anticipating that would happen in early June. And upon approval of that package by council, then the proposal will be released and proceed with receiving and evaluating proposals, a process which would take approximately 6 months. And then recommendation for the award would come back to council again. We anticipate probably February of 2021.
How long did the present contract last?
It expires at the end of 2021, so the new contract will go into effect January 1st, 2022.
I see. Is the consultant going to get guidance from us or from the haulers? Or is there some process that we can envision that the party is going to go through in coming back with the recommendation?
Certainly, they will be working very closely with staff. This would be a process which we are working on together between the consultant and the staff. It would the haulers themselves would be applying, presumably, to as submitting proposals. They would not be involved in the development of the RFP itself.
I see. Would the intent of the RFP be to recommend whether we have one hauler, two haulers, three, in other words, to divide up the city into districts, or to just recommend one hauler for the entire city or the entire district? I guess it's the whole Canal Valley, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'll jump in and let Dr. Cox correct whatever inaccuracies I have or Ms. Noonan. Councilmember Jones, I think the important way to look at this is that the intent of an RFP process is a full and open market-based RFP process. And so that allows the market to dictate what types of responses we get. Now, just based on previous questions, I think you're getting at the fact that we used to have two haulers split in kind of an arbitrary fashion across town, and that was built on years of past agreements. The market-driven process now would not eliminate two haulers from coming together and submitting a proposal. Staff's creation of the RFP would simply allow for an RFP process to dictate to let the market dictate those terms, rather than staff trying to dictate arbitrary terms about separation of different districts within the city. The market would provide us with whatever the market deems to get the best rates and the best package of services for our residents.
That's correct. That's correct.
Go ahead.
I was going to say by allowing the market to dictate it, it allows staff in the city to evaluate, every type of proposal, and allows flexibility for the city to determine which proposal is the best for its residents and businesses.
Well, does this provide for the haulers to get together in the process, or do they have to remain aloof from each other? Or, I mean, what is considered the fair way and the legal way to do this?
Well, that will be up to them. They have, if let's just say, for instance, we've in some of the haulers that have been talked about, Waste Management, Harrison, the Republic, any of those entities could choose to put in a singular bid. They could choose to do a bid in partnership with one another and establish what the parameters look like. But those are decisions that they make from their business perspective, rather than having the city dictate.
So you're saying at this point in the process, you don't think it would be proper or a good idea for the council to instruct the consultant that we hire to have more than one district, or would it be more proper to leave it simply to the process?
I think from the professional's perspective, in order to get, when you do an RFP process, you want as few constraints and restrictions on that process to ensure that you're giving the market the opportunity to put the most creative proposal forward. And putting restrictions in place regarding districts or otherwise would be a constraint to that process, and thus would very likely inhibit the types of competitive proposals you would receive.
So, as I get it, there would be no legal problem of the haulers meeting together? That wouldn't be collusion or anything, I guess, would it?
There's nothing that would prohibit the haulers from communicating. I would have concerns, however, if either staff or the consultant reach out for direction or guidance on how to frame the RFP, because we want, we're hiring this consultant based on their expertise. So I wouldn't be comfortable with the haulers, giving opinions as to how the RFP should look, because this consultant should already know what type of services are out there, given their expertise, and what type of contracts are out there, given their expertise.
Well, I guess it would be improper for the council to give the consultant direction to have, say, at least two districts. Is that what you're saying?
Well, with respect to that, what I'm saying with respect to that is that giving direction to the consultant for something like, let's split the city in two, as Drew indicated, is a constraint on evaluating the true market capabilities for this type of a service. If you put those types of constraints out, you're going to get a much different group of proposals than if you leave it open-ended and allow the haulers to decide whether they want to partner with each other to submit a proposal or go on their own.
Yeah, I don't want to prolong this. Just as a matter of philosophy, I guess we would say, the idea of having just one party doing something for the whole city seems, like kind of goes against the idea of competition. But maybe the competition we've had in the past has not produced a better product at a lower price. I don't know. Okay, thanks for the explanation. I appreciate it.
You had another item as well?
Yeah, I wonder if Drew could just talk a little bit more about this of waiving the late payment policies and so forth due to the COVID. I think it's a very fine idea. I'd just like to know how it's going to work.
So the action before council tonight deals with a whole host of, it's actually the council taking official action on a whole host of not charging late fees on water, wastewater, library, and other fines and fees. This is action consistent with what's happening across the board. We have our finance director, Jamie Boscarino, on the line as well, so she can speak directly to the financial impact. So I'll bring Jamie up as well.
Thanks, Drew. This is Jamie Boscarino, the finance director for the City of Thousand Oaks. As Drew mentioned, there's a different variety of impacts on late fees for different areas: water, wastewater, business license, parking citation, that the city would normally apply for late payments. And just based on the times that we are in currently and the financial situation that businesses and residents are in the city today, we felt it was prudent to take a global look at which areas could we, with as little impact financially to the city as possible, temporarily pause charging late fees, fines, and interest for certain items. So that's why we have put together the resolution in front of council tonight. We feel that these are the items that would be most beneficial to our residents and our businesses in town and provide as little financial impact to the city as possible.
Well, what would be the process? If somebody is becoming delinquent, do you send them a notice?
It depends on which area you're looking at. So obviously for water and wastewater, there's an extensive policy we have that depends on how late you are, whether you get a notice, a second letter in the mail notifying you that your water bill has not been paid and is delinquent. And you, at some point, would get a door tag, you would get a phone call. So there's different steps depending on which area you're looking at as to how the city currently notifies residents and businesses that they are late and delinquent on their water bill or their business license. So it would just depend on which area you're looking at, but typically it's a letter that they receive in the mail notifying them that they're late and then that the late fee is applied.
In other words, we don't send out a notice or in some way notify people that for a certain period of time we're going to waive late fees. We wait until we find out that they're either late or on the verge of becoming late before we notice them to the effect that there won't be any late charges during this COVID emergency. Is that it?
Right. So we're noticing the public now with this action item if council so chooses to adopt it. But we wouldn't proactively send out notifications to residents and businesses that their fees will be waived through this process now.
I guess we're depending on the old reliable acorn, right?
Yeah, I'll add to Jamie's comment. I think we're doing this in recognition that a lot of people are suffering right now financially, and so in recognizing that it's a small thing we can do for those that are suffering. We recognize there's also those that are not suffering, and so we'll continue to pay bills and process things in normal course.
Well, I agree with this wholeheartedly, and I'm sure that in the implementation of this, you'll ascertain, that there is a bona fide situation here in this. I mean, this is, to me, is a nice contribution that we're making to people that are going to be really hurting without income, and
Correct.
I think it's a splendid idea. Thank you for explaining it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilmember Jones.
Mayor Adam, Bob Engler.
Yes, Bob, go ahead.
Just one quick question for Ms. Boscarino. If people recognize that they are getting into trouble, are you accepting any calls from them as to at least further investigate this forgiveness of the fees? How would that situation work if somebody is seeing that they are having problems making their bills? Should they call you first before there's a notice sent?
So we are still open taking phone calls, even though City Hall is closed to the public. Our public services staff, either at home or we have a couple of staff still present on site to process payments, they are absolutely taking phone calls. And for water, wastewater payments, for instance, although we're not charging late fees, if this gets adopted, we still want to work with the public to set up a payment plan so that they can at least be putting some payments aside so that come 2 months from now or whenever, they're not stuck with a huge water bill that would then become owed. So, yes, I would recommend that they reach out to our customer service staff, our number's on our website, and give them a call, and we will absolutely will work with anybody.
Thank you. So it would help if they were proactive and contacted you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought that up, Ed. Councilmember Jones. It's just one more way that the city's trying to get the people through this hardship that we're all facing, whether it's moratoriums on evictions from commercial residential properties, or whether it's allowing food deliveries around the clock, or in this particular case, waiving some late fees. We're doing all we can to try to make this as smooth as possible under the circumstances. So, Councilmember Jones, did you want to move K
Yes,
and R?
Mr. Mayor, I'll move items K and R.
All right. For motion, if can I have a voice vote, please?
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember McCoy?
Yes.
Councilmember Engler?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bill De La Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Adam?
Yes.
And that motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you. And, we had an interesting consent calendar this time around. I just wanted to take a moment to highlight a couple of the things on there that shows the financial stability of our city and shows that we are moving forward despite some of the circumstances we find ourselves in. These are projects that are quite beneficial. One of them is to improve the intersection at Lawrence and Teller Road, increase the traffic flow there. That's right in the Rancho Conejo area, very important. We're going to widen Newbury Road, which runs right along parallel to the 101 freeway, another important roadway. Rancho Road, we're going to put in sidewalks for better pedestrian access, and that's going to connect Teal Boulevard to the Thousand Oaks Transit Center. That's a top priority location. And one of the most exciting projects, I think, is the sidewalk and bike lane project on Conejo School and Willow Road that will connect a huge part of the city, the downtown, all the way to Hillcrest and down Willow, all the way out to Hampshire. So these are the kind of projects that are embedded in the consent calendar, but they're very important. Mr. Finley is in charge of these projects, and have they been budgeted now for some time?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Yes, they have. And in fact, I want to point out to council that between the Rancho Road project and the Willow Lane project, the city has obtained over $4.9 million in grant funding, which we're leveraging to complete those projects. Those projects will be going out to bid late this year or early next, and are planned to be completed in the spring of 2022. So once we get through this spring and summer, we have a lot of bright things to look forward to.
Excellent. Good job on the grants, too. And then this wasn't on the consent calendar, but I'll bring it up. We're also going to be starting our Thousand Oaks Boulevard Phase 1 streetscape project in a very short time, which will be really the beginning of our downtown, widening sidewalks in front of Lupe's, putting in amenities, bulb outs, crosswalks, and eventually that'll run all the way up to P.F. Chang's. So good things happening. Thank you very much, Ms. Finley. All right. Let us move on then to our department report this evening, and that is with Nader Haidari. And we're going to talk about quite a large overlay and slurry program for our streets. Good evening, Mr. Haidari.
Mr. Mayor, prior to
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem. You had an announcement.
I need to recuse myself from this one item on the agenda today because my street is included in this program. So I will just step away. Do I turn off the TV as well, Ms. Noonan?
You don't have to turn off the TV.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe the rule, whenever there's a project within, correct me if I'm wrong, 500 feet of a council member's residence, that council member must recuse themselves, so that's why Claudia had to do that.
That is correct.
Very good.
Residence or any property that you own.
Correct.
If you own properties, other properties in Thousand Oaks, I think you need to recuse yourself as well.
You are correct.
Thank you for that clarification. Very good, very good. All right, Mr. Haidari, if you please.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, and the remaining 3 council members on the line. We're presenting a department report tonight for the 2020 Paving Program Construction Award. In recognition of many of you following along and participating remotely, I'll attempt to call out which slide I'm on as I go through the presentation in order for you to be able to follow along. So moving on to slide number 2 here. This is the depiction of the proposed list of streets for this year's program. As you know, we do the paving program on a biannual basis. And in this biannual project, we have a total of 46 miles of pavement rehabilitation and resurfacing. You'll note that this is just a bit less than the program last year, which was slightly north of 50 miles last time around in 2018. You'll also note that this year's program has a higher percentage of work in the residential neighborhoods and slightly less on the arterial roadways, which were already addressed in 2018. Slide 3, we're proposing to use 4 different treatments for this year's program. These treatments are being used on different types of streets where appropriate. We've successfully used all 4 of these treatments in previous programs. 3 of them use recycled tire rubber, which is in line with our efforts to be environmentally sustainable. And I'll go over these 3 briefly. Slide 4 is the depiction of the slurry seal, which is the predominant workhorse treatment we use to preserve our residential streets and collector streets. It's a thin resurfacing treatment that protects and seals existing pavement and extends ride quality and improves aesthetics. This treatment extends the pavement life by 5 to 7 years. And on slide 5 is a kind of a before and after, is a aerial photo from that application being applied in 2018. The next product up the chain in terms of extensiveness is thin overlay, thin residential overlay. It's approximately 1 to 1 1/4 inches thick. It's used as an alternative to the costlier full standard overlay where conditions warrant more than a slurry seal, but the street volumes and the loading on the streets don't warrant the full expenditure of putting in the full 2-inch overlay. This treatment will extend the pavement life 10 to 12 years. And this is a depiction of Shirley Drive that was treated with that product on slide number 7. Moving on to slide 8, this is the traditional full 2-inch overlay and primarily used on arterial streets such as Erbs Road, Borchard, Hake Road, and Thousand Oaks Boulevard in this upcoming program. This treatment is 2 inches thick. It corrects surface defects, improves ride quality and drainage, and extends pavement life 15 to 20 years. And then the photos on the slide 8 and now on slide 9 is the before and after of Hillcrest Drive, which was received that treatment in 2016. So on slide 10, here's the summary of the bids received. The overlay project includes 30 miles of overlay and microsurfacing, as well as upgrading 160 curb ramps for ADA access and repaving several CRPD parking lots. Bids were open in February 19th, and the low bid is from Sully Miller, which is actually the same contractor who did the 2018 program. Their bid is, however, 18% higher than the engineer's estimate. Higher bids are attributable to a combination of factors at the current time, such as labor shortages, high volume of construction work in the overall Southern California area with many mega projects, and the passage of AB 5, which has increased trucking costs. In order to eliminate the cost increase, staff negotiated a deductive change order with the low bidder, which had to remove 2 areas from the program in order to stay within the budget. One of these areas was Hampshire, which is probably wise to hold off anyway due to the potential redevelopment of the Kmart parcel. And on the bottom there is the slurry seal program. This includes 16 miles for this current biannual program. The low bid was from PMI, who also did the slurry seal for us in 2018. Their bid was 4% under the engineer's estimate. So looking at them together on slide 11, this is the combined cost for the paving program, including the soft costs, the engineering, testing, and other associated costs, $14.8 million. Slide 12 shows the existing available budget sources, which is $14.9 million. Further details are in the staff report. As I mentioned earlier, we're doing a fair amount of work on behalf of other local agencies, which are being reimbursed at 100% level to the city. This includes 11 CRPD parking lots that are being renovated and repaved as part of this program. This provides for a greater economy of scale for the work to be done on behalf of CRPD. The gas tax funding that is shown on this slide also includes over $5 million in SB1 gas tax revenues that are being applied to this project. Moving on to slide 13, that's a comparison of the total program costs and total budget. Project schedule is on 14 here. We are going out to for award, and the construction should start at the end of April or early May, and we're looking to be completed in the fall. Slide number 15. Given the scale of the project, again, nearly 50 miles, similar to last go-around, an extensive and multifaceted outreach program will once again be deployed with branding, project logos, press releases, continuously updated web page, signs, and message boards all over town, including social media, leveraging the use of social media. And we have a dedicated project website there, toaks.org/streets, kind of a brief and easy to get to website to allow residents and businesses to stay up to date on the latest goings of the project. And staff is available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hidari. Questions? Council members?
Mr. Mayor, may
Yep.
I ask a question?
Yes.
Ed Jones here. I was just looking at the legend with the map, and I saw the 2 items, one in the maroon, I guess, that says overlay with micro, and then that thin light-colored line that says micro surfacing. Could you tell me what those 2 things are?
Yes, they're essentially the same. The darker red one, the overlay with micro, means we are microsurfacing the shoulders only on that roadway, which aren't traveled on. So in that case, which is Borchard leading into Dos Vientos, there's some wide shoulders that are in good shape and don't require us to do that very costly overlay onto. So we're overlaying the travel lanes which need it, and then we're being a little more economical and doing just the microsurfacing to preserve the shoulders. So it's kind of a hybrid.
What area on Borchard is that again? What are the 2 endpoints?
It's as you go up the hill into Dos Vientos there. It's on the map there. It leads into Rancho Dos Vientos. I don't know the exact
Yeah, I
easterly.
understand that. Does it start down at Reno Road? Is that where the beginning is?
A little further west than Reno.
Like Los Vientos?
Correct. I believe that's Los Vientos.
Okay, and what exactly is microsurfacing?
So it is a more robust resurfacing treatment that has some aggregate in it that is better suited to holding up in a higher speed environment than a slurry seal would be.
So you're deeming that section higher speed. And what is the speed limit, around 45 there or something?
Yeah, that is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jones. Any other questions? All right. If not, I'll just say that we have 380 miles of streets in the city, and in just a little over 2 years, we are going to repair, seal, resurface, or overlay 96 miles of those streets. That's 25%. And this is why consistently Thousand Oaks has the highest street scores of any city in the county, year after year after year. So thank you for the report, Mr. Haydari. Looking forward to the project starting. And if there's no further questions or comments, I'll ask for a motion, please.
Also move.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Jones. We have a motion on the floor. If you'd call for a voice vote, please, Ms. Rodriguez.
Councilmember Jones,
Aye.
Councilmember McCoy,
Yes.
Councilmember Engler,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bill De La Pena is absent, and Mayor Adam.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much.
That motion carries 4-0 with Mayor Pro Tem Bill De La Pena absent.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, are you back on the line now?
I am.
Good, good, good. All right, very good. All right, let us go to our city manager for any follow-up items that you may have.
The only follow-up item I have is just to remind folks for latest information, toaks.org/COVID-19 or vcemergency.com. Our next meeting is currently scheduled for the 21st of April. And as things continue to evolve over the course of the coming days, weeks, and months, I encourage you to stay informed by staying in touch with our various social media channels, and that's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of the different channels, and our website as well. That's all I
Thank
have.
you, Mr. Powers. I'd like to just take a moment here and give each one of my fellow council members an opportunity to comment or talk about whatever may be on your mind, address the community. And if I may, I'd like to start with our Mayor Pro Tem, Claudia Bill de la Pena.
Thank you, Mayor Adam. I think that our city manager, Mr. Powers, covered it pretty well at the beginning of this meeting. The emphasis needs to be on following the order and to really not put other people at risk. And that means to stay home and only do essential business. The sheriff this afternoon released a video saying that if there is no, if people are not listening or ignoring the order, he will take the measures needed in order to achieve compliance. So he made it very clear that police or deputies will step in and make you follow the order if you're unwilling to do so. And I think that the strong message he sent out today will hopefully make a difference in people's behaviors and the occasional business and or people on the trail or who knows what. The other thing is, I'm glad that the new order by Dr. Robert Levin from Ventura County Public Health is more exact or more descriptive about restaurants, because I see many times where food is being prepared and people are not using face masks. Some of them are not even using gloves. And I think that makes me personally feel a little uneasy when I see that. And I think that perhaps businesses should take the steps. Those who are not doing so already should take the added step of face protection as well as hands. But since there is such shortage on masks and gloves, it may be not as easy to achieve. I don't know. So I just wanted to say that. And also, a brand new display on vcemergency.com shows now a very nice chart, interactive chart of daily cases that are being tested, confirmed, hospitalized, and so forth. So I think this new chart, interactive chart on vcemergency.com is really good. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for those thoughtful and informative remarks. Mayor, I'm never going to get used to that, Rob. Councilmember McCoy, if you please.
Well, I wanted to commend the city staff for keeping us all up to date, including the county staff. Not only do I serve on the council, but I'm also a minister in town, and our congregation is always wanting updates. And when we're operating in the context of fear, it's only facts and truth that allow us to calm our concerns. And every time I've inquired, either at the county level or the city level, we have always received great data, and we've had that opportunity to put that forward to the folks within our sphere of influence. So great stories in the community about serving folks that are shut-ins, that are all alone. We can go on with countless stories. But again, the city of Thousand Oaks rises to the occasion in what is, for us, one of the seminal events of at least of my lifetime. I would just conclude by saying, young men stormed the beaches of Normandy to secure a victory over fascism and basically save the world. And we're being asked to save the world by sitting at home on our couches and sequestering. And I think that if that's what's being asked of us, that is not a problem. We can all do it. And then the last thing is for the folks that are in the challenging area of comorbidity and the age group that is most adversely affected, which, as we look at the data at 70 and older, they're the ones that are in a real difficult position. If it was reversed and our youth were being targeted by this virus, I know that the grandparents and the parents would do everything in their power to protect the children. So I would say to the young people out there, do the same. Do the same for your parents, your grandparents. Honor what is being requested, and as a city, we will. This will be our finest hour. We're going to shine. So, thank you, Mayor, for all you've been doing. I know you've been working tirelessly, not only dealing with the city's issues, but also having to deal with clients watching the stock market struggle. And I just commend you and all my fellow council members for their hard work. God bless you all.
Thank you, Councilmember McCoy, for sharing your thoughts. Very much appreciated. Councilmember Engler.
Thank you, Mayor. So many things have been said so far tonight, and I agree with just about every one of them. These are trying times. We have something that none of us have ever encountered before that we are wrestling with right now, and we've been asked to do our part. And our part in this now is to socially distance ourselves from our friends and from our other acquaintances, and this is not an easy thing to do. In terms of where we are on this event, I look at this as a marathon. We're probably at about mile 10, 12 in this marathon. It's starting to hurt. It's starting to make a difference to us. But our goal is to make it to the end. And when we make it to the end, more people will have survived. The impact to our economy will have been less if we do our part and stay home and abide by the rules that have been set up for us. That I fully recognize that means that there's there's a lot of sacrifice that it needs to be done by everyone. I talked to one of my high school friends the other day. She can't go on college trips now. She can't. She doesn't anticipate that she'll be able to have her long-awaited graduation. Other friends are unable to meet each other for their normal coffee in the morning. These are sacrifices that we all are being asked to make, but the goal of the sacrifice is very intense. So I think we, like Councilman Jones said, Councilman McCoy said, other generations have been asked much more. I think we can do this. And with that, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Councilmember Engler, for your insights. Appreciate that. Councilmember Jones.
You know, I really appreciate all the beautiful remarks that you, Mr. Mayor, and our other council members are making. And as was mentioned earlier, the fine report that our city manager made. And I really appreciate that item R, where we're looking into each case, and if people have lost their income due to the SARS, that we're giving them leeway in making their payments. You know, what Councilman McCoy said about Normandy made me flash back in my mind. I was in elementary school when Pearl Harbor was bombed, and overnight we started doing everything we could. They said we have to do this for the duration. Well, I didn't know what the word meant, but I found out pretty soon what duration meant. And what we did active things. We saved scrap metal, we saved rubber. People would pick it up. My mother saved cooking fat. I guess they used that in making ammunition, and we turned that in at Franco's Market down the street. And we would line up, our little elementary school class would line up once a week, and we'd all walk over to a bank across the street, and we'd buy war stamps. Red ones were 10 cents, and green ones were 25 cents. Those are the rich kids that bought the green ones. I bought the red ones. But we all felt we were in it. We were all doing something, you know. And we'd see newsreels. We didn't have television, but we had newsreels. And we would watch the lines about how at the beginning of the war, the lines were always going the wrong way of the front of the battles in Asia and Europe. And then the thing turned around 1943, and the lines started going back toward Japan and Germany. And we were all very excited about that. And I was in a glee club, and we immediately sang patriotic songs till the end of the war. But this is so different, as somebody mentioned. We're serving by staying at home. Instead of running out and collecting scrap metal and rubber and buying war bonds and stamps, we're, sequestering ourselves, which is a little different. It reminds me of a poem by John Milton. It's called On His Blindness. And the last line was, "They also serve who only stand and wait." And that's really what we're doing, aren't we? We're making our contribution by not doing things that would spread the virus, and saving ourselves, we're saving others. So I'm honored to be serving with the staff and the council, and I appreciate all your fine words tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jones. And thank you for sharing those reminiscences. It seems like every generation has to face a challenge, whether it's World War II or 9/11 or some of the huge challenges that we've had to go through. I just want the young people in this generation to remember this and look back about how they participated and how they helped to win this battle and to what's right. So before we sign off here, I would like to just highlight a couple of things that are happening in the city where you can either pitch in and give a little help, or you can get a little help. And I think we're going to pop these up on the screen as I talk about each one. The first one is Food Share Ventura County. On this Thursday, from 12 to 2 at Conejo Creek South, that's the big soccer field there, Low-income families in Thousand Oaks will be able to visit and pick up some different meals. And if you want to find out how to participate, go to foodshare.com for details. That's this Thursday, 12 to 2. MANA, and Councilmember Engler has been involved with MANA for many years, needs donations. They're anticipating a larger than normal demand in the coming weeks. And if you want to help there, go to manacanejo.org to either donate or perhaps give some of your time. Ventura County Community Foundation has started a Ventura County Rapid Response Fund, an excellent response to what's happening. Those funds are going to be able to help individuals with economic hardships or businesses that have been having a tough time. So to apply for funds there or to make a donation, go to vccf.org. And then finally, our own Les Robles Hospital is hosting a blood drive. That's tomorrow, April 1st. It's going to be at Lorena High School Gym, and again on Thursday, April 2nd, at the Thousand Oaks Teen Center. If you'd like to make an appointment to donate blood, that's bloodforlife.org. And use the sponsor code 8355. So as always, Thousand Oaks is stepping up and helping to overcome this latest challenge that we're all facing. I can't stress enough, April is going to be a tough month. We need to continue with our physical distancing because it buys us time. It buys us time so we don't have a spike that would be difficult to handle. So compliance is really the key here. We're asking everybody to stay safe and stay at home. It protects our seniors, our vulnerable population, and most importantly, our healthcare workers. We cannot afford to have our healthcare workers come down with this virus. And speaking of our healthcare workers, and I speak for the whole council and all the staff, I really appreciate the job that you're doing. It's a stressful job. You're putting your lives on the line, really, for others, and there's no higher calling. Our nurses, our doctors are just fantastic people, and we really appreciate all that you're doing. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting, if no one has anything else, and I wish you all well. Keep distancing yourself, please, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you very much.